From the studios of the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg, welcome to Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
Hello, good day. I'm Sylvaria Jacobs, Prime Minister of St. Martin, and this is Prime Minister Talks. For today, I have a special guest. I'm not in the studio or online as I am usually with our host, Cedric Peterson. Today, we'll be having a discussion with our Finance Minister, Mr. Artwell Irion, on the cost-cutting measures that St. Martin has had to implement thus far. Welcome to the program, Minister Irion.
Thank you for having me, Prime Minister. It was a long time coming, but I'm here now.
Yes, it's always difficult for us to get a hold of our very busy minister. As we all know, we're going through a very tough time, but as I said in my last press briefing, tough times don't last, but tough people do, and I think the people of St. Martin are tough people, and we will definitely find a way out of our challenges, as challenges are being faced around the world. So what can you tell us, the people of St. Martin specifically, about the cost-cutting measures that we are currently implementing as government of St. Martin?
As you may know, Prime Minister, around the world, the pandemic has hit all countries. Cash money is very expensive right now in the world. If you look at government's income, we have decreased by about close to 50%. If you look at the central bank data, the central bank expects a decrease in GDP by 24.8%, basically 25%, which basically means that if you translate it directly, you can see about half of our revenue dropping in government. So we typically did about 40 million guilders a month in revenue, between 35 and 40 million guilders. Now we're at about 20 million, and I believe for the month of September, we're going to be a little lower at about 18 to 17 million. So we see a drastic drop in revenue, and every government in the world, every business in the world, when you see a decrease in revenue, you then have to make financial cuts. And in addition to those financial cuts, we also have the conditions from the Netherlands, which most of you on the island already know about, the 25% for ministers and parliamentarians and 12.5% for civil servants. But we already planned and initiated our own cuts before the conditions. So those come on top of those. Some of the cuts that were implemented today actually were the cuts to the phones. All the postpaid phones went over to prepaid. And I just got word from the DMO, Mr. Aaron Labega, that it was successful. So all phones now have been transferred to prepaid, and they are back online. So there was a moment in time, there's a little glitch, and they're all back online. I expect to save a substantial amount of money on this. Right now, we're working out the figures. I've requested to have the last 3 months of phone bills, so you can have an average expense on the phone bills. In addition to that, we have also stopped, at least I've requested that by Telem, I don't know if it's implemented as yet, to stop all overseas calls at the public schools and any other landlines that we have outside the building. Right now we have Teams, we have Skype, we have WhatsApp, video call, and so forth. So the need to call overseas via the regular line, I believe, has decreased. And we also have looked at our gas policy, right, which has already been approved by COM also. We've had a presentation. We are going over now from a gas bond system to a prepaid system. So every person that has access to a vehicle or drives a vehicle will now have basically a top-up card for your gas. And it will be predetermined the amount of money on the card, and the money doesn't roll over. So for example, if your card has a top-up of 200 guilders and you only use 100 guilders, it doesn't roll over to the next month. It starts over again. So that way we also save money. But more importantly, with both of these systems is that we are able to track. So now we're able to say, okay, why is vehicle X and vehicle Z that supposed to do the same work, why is vehicle X spending 3 times the amount of gas or miles than vehicle Y? And even with the phones now, we monitor even more. Even though it's prepaid, we are still able to monitor. And no question, I believe you will see it'll be even more beneficial for us going forward in 2021 because right now we already have it as prepaid, so we can calculate in advance already what the exact budget is for next year.
Right.
Whereas right now, how the system is that we have postpaid numbers with a fixed amount per month, but there are a lot of persons that are going over this amount, and the accountability and control for the last 5 years or more hasn't been there, and we see the effects of it now. For the last about 5 years, we've gone over the budget between 15 and 19 million guilders.
Wow. On telephone calls?
On telephone.
And gas?
Yes.
Wow.
And if you think about it, that money could have been put in sports, education, and so forth.
All the reforms?
All the reforms. But I mean, let's say over the years, so before COVID-19. I also believe that the conditions we're putting in place now will allow us to come out a lot stronger outside of this pandemic.
Right.
The pandemic will not last forever. We've had many crises in the past. We had a 2008 financial crisis around the world. St. Martin was affected, but maybe not as bad as bigger countries with the banking crisis. We've had pandemics in the past also. We had the H1N1. At the end of the day, as cliche as it may sound, life goes on.
Yeah.
And I believe that we will come out of this pandemic. But having these systems in place now would mean that if our revenues increase to the normal revenues pre-Hurricane Irma, would mean that we would have more money in our coffers to spend on important stuff.
So what we're actually doing now are cost-cutting measures that actually should have been done before. They've actually been talked about before. We actually found policies. And there are several other areas in which we can do some, let's say, making government organization more effective and efficient. So we're coming close already to the end of the first segment. Maybe you can already give a little hint as to why we are still in discussions with the CFT and, say, the Ministry of BZK as to meeting the conditions that had been set for the second tranche, which we did receive. So I think we're almost out of time, but I think as we go into the next segment, I'd like you to go into specifically what has been asked of us to be able to get liquidity support to actually make it through the year, and then it was attached to get funds to be able to do necessary reforms, and why we are still stuck in the discussions and negotiations with our Kingdom partners as it relates to meeting the criteria of the second tranche. So I will ask those of you who have joined us to, after the break, come right back and you'll be getting all the information as it relates to our country's finances, why we are where we are today, and what we're doing to fix it.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
Coronavirus is most likely to spread from person to person when we come into close contact with one another. We can all help stop the spread by keeping our distance. This means do not shake hands or exchange physical greetings, and wherever possible, stay at least 1.5 to 2 meters away from others. It's also really important to practice good hygiene, especially after being in public places. Together we can help stop the spread and stay healthy. Visit stmartingov.org/coronavirus or call 914 to learn more. This public service announcement is brought to you by the Government of St. Martin. The following public service announcement brings to you a few of the many unsung heroes in the medical profession who are working tirelessly to put our needs ahead of theirs and in the midst of this battle to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Listen closely to their message so that we all can remain safe.
Good day, General Public of St. Martin. I'm Dr. Felix Holliday, General Surgeon and Medical Director of the St. Martin Medical Center. I'm staying at work for you, so please stay home for me. Stay safe.
My name is Christina Jacobs-Burkle. I'm the Junior Patient Care Manager. COVID-19 affects everyone, so please, everyone, let's protect everyone and stay home.
Hi, I'm Meandra Hazel, ICU nurse. I'm a frontline nurse and I'm asking you to be a frontline citizen. Please stay home, save a life. Help me to help you.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the St. Martin Medical Center and the Government of St. Martin.
Gen yon maladi nan le monde entier ki rele coronavirus ou bien COVID-19. Li bay problem respiratoire. Sa pou n'kembe nan tèt nou se ki jan pou n'proteje tèt ou ak fami ou. Kontrole santé ou pendant 14 jou si nou te voyaje kite peyi ya. Sou vin développer la fièvre, wap tousse ou bien gen difficulté respirer, rete la kayou pas sorti. Rele docteur sou gen numéro téléphone docteur. Pratike façon hygiénique pour tousse ak pour laver main. Évite entrer en contact avec moun kap tousse ou bien kap esterne. Sou gen nécessité assistance médicale, rele avant. Explique docteur ou bien département urgence lan ki jan ou senti ou. Explique yo si ou te voyager. Explique yo si ou pense ou te entrer en contact ak yon moun ki peut-être te exposé à virus la. Pour plus information, rele 914. Annonce publique sa sorti dans santé, contrôle ak prévention maladie et gouvernement Saint-Martin.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
Welcome back to Prime Minister Talks, episode 25. We're now into the second segment. And when we left off, Minister of Finance, we were talking about why we are still in discussions with the CFT, with the Ministry of Basic Care concerning the criteria needed to meet the second tranche. Please, elucidate.
Yes, we are in discussion still for very technical matters. So it's not the fact that we don't want to meet the conditions. One aspect is, as Minister of Finance, as a person living on the island of St. Martin, this is the island I defend, the civil servants that I defend. And my main goal was to make sure that our civil servants, the people of St. Martin, we try to avoid touching their salaries as much as possible.
Right.
And part of the conditions for the Netherlands was to have 12.5% of the total salary package cut. And within that package, you have vacation pay, you have overtime, you have retroactive pay, bonuses, and so forth. In the package, you also mentioned you don't have to only cut those things, but you could also cut other benefits attached.
Secondary benefits.
Secondary benefits, yes. In other countries and in corporations, when you sign up, when you get a job, for example, your uniform is part of your contract, or phone is part of your contract. In government, we don't have it leaked in a policy. So it was hard to use those as secondary benefits, even though in our LMA, I know it's in English.
Administrative regulations.
It says that these benefits are secondary benefits, but because it's not part of a contract, the CFT does not see it as part of a total salary package. So what is left then? As I mentioned before, the vacation pay, the retroactive, the bonus, the vacation days, and so forth. So we have, what we have done now, if we have made a comparable cut to the other two islands, we haven't cut salaries like the other islands, but in terms
Say that part again.
we haven't cut salaries.
Have not.
Yes. We have cut this year 50% of vacation pay. And I'll take a step back and say that even we didn't have conditions, we had to make certain cuts.
Right. And we did actually propose cuts before the discussion happened with the Dutch, or before they came with their, let's say, prescribed cuts.
Yes.
We were having the discussions with the unions, and we'd actually, in Council of Ministers, we had that discussion about, looking only at the highest earners, etc., so we don't touch those who were earning below a certain threshold at all, not for vacation pay, not for anything. And after a whole long discussion, now we're hearing that, but we never said to cut salaries, or but we never said to touch the lowest earners. So,
which is really political, because it's basically, because they are right. They never said to cut salaries, but we are saying to cut, they're saying specifically cut within the salary package. But if for example, there was no vacation pay, or vacation pay already had passed already, what is left will only be salaries and minor other stuff.
Right.
So like I mentioned before, we have looked at other areas within the salary package. We have a proposal, and right now CFT is asking for very specific calculations as to how we meet this criteria.
Do you think we'll get out of this anytime soon?
Yes, I believe this week it will be finalized, hopefully. I've also had meetings with Central Bank, IMF, and they all believe that cuts are necessary, and even we compare to other islands in the Caribbean, you see cuts. Like I said, there's no free money in the world, but I think these discussions were needed, And I believe as a Minister of Finance, I should fight for our people and our civil servants.
Right, and I must say and add to that as Minister of General Affairs that with that falling directly under me, and I don't think the civil servants are probably as aware that this fight back and forth is to at least ensure that the salaries remain intact, and we're continuing to fight for that. And though we might miss some secondary benefits, we're asking understanding based on the reality of what's going on. Several people around the world, and especially also here in St. Martin in the private sector, are either without a salary at all, or they're relying on a SSRP that has an expiration date, or they're on unemployment, which is a much less than what they would have earned in their jobs. So I think if we are in solidarity with our brothers and sisters, for us to be able to find ways and means to help support them, it is good that we at least be grateful that we do still have jobs as civil service. We are that necessary, and that we are doing the best we can with the time we have. Some other areas that we are saving is going more digital. I know this has been one of your, let's say, not even campaign things, but you've talked about this in Parliament, you've talked about this, we've always talked about this, and you're actually getting the opportunity to take this forward. ICT, automation of payments.
Yes. So ICT typically falls under the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister.
But especially since COVID, the Prime Minister has been very busy with all matters related to Country St. Martin. And I, as a Council of Ministers, I don't believe, especially in a time of COVID, that it should be stated that, oh, this is my ministry, this is your ministry. I took it upon myself to help in the areas that I can help with, and with any ministry that I can. And I actually have a background in ICT as well. I actually started, it was ICT.
Oh.
It was not business or finance. And so ICT, we have now started the process of automating all our systems. All of our advices now are going to be digital. Within the Ministry of Finance, we are hoping that by January, we can have a fully digital, in the financial management area, we'll be fully digital. I'm also working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Rummy on getting the building permits and domain affairs online and digital. Right. Tomorrow I have a meeting also with Minister Tiat, where they are also focusing on business license going more digital. And so, like I said, we're going through a little bit of discomfort at the moment.
Change is always uncomfortable.
Yes, but I believe once we push through these processes, everyone will benefit. For example, another important aspect that I know for sure I'm happy with, and most persons will be happy with, is that we will be able to pay online very soon on government. So we're working on an online payment system for government, so persons don't have to leave their homes anymore to pay for government services. I think this is very much needed, and I think that going into 2021, this should be the case. We should have a system up and running, especially now with social distancing and COVID-19.
It's much more efficient.
And not, exactly, and not knowing how long it will last, and making sure that our building stays not too full.
Well, I want to say that I'm very happy for the collaboration with finance and ICT. It was necessary anyway to get the finance section, and of course it behooves us as an organization to get as much of our systems as possible regulated and digitalized. And I did get an update from ICT this week, and I'm very happy with the progress. I mean, there are certain things that have to be transferred, some forms, certain templates, etc., to ensure that every department can get online, but we're definitely hoping that within this month of October that we can get most of at least the movement of advices and the like through our new platform, that by the time finance comes around the beginning of the year, that everything would be able to move smoothly, and it would also translate into more effective, efficient, and timely actions that will benefit our people.
And accountability, that's a word for next year.
Yes, accountability is very high on our list, and I'd ask you to stay tuned because we're taking another short break and we'll be right back.
Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Sylvaria Jacobs.
The following public service announcement brings to you a few of the many unsung heroes in the medical profession who are working tirelessly to put our needs ahead of theirs and in the midst of this battle to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Listen closely to their message so that we all can remain safe.
Hello, my fellow St. Martiners. I am Nurse Carty from the Ambulance Department. We are now facing a very crucial time. Please adhere to the instructions given. Follow good hand hygiene, social distancing, and please stay at home.
My name is Angelo Martina. I'm one of the supervisors of the emergency room. Let's fight this. Stay home.
I am Dr. Sameh Nadari. I am internist at St. Martin Medical Center. I am here for you. I am at work for you. So please stay at home for us.
My name is Andrele Ellis, pharmacist of Kale Pharmacy in the St. Martin Medical Center. Please stay home.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the St. Martin Medical Center and the government of St. Martin.
Hay un brote de enfermedad respiratoria en todo el mundo causada por el coronavirus COVID-19. Tenemos algunos consejos de salud que debe tener en cuenta para protegerse y proteger a su familia. Controle su salud durante 14 días después de viajar. Si desarrolla fiebre, tos o tiene dificultad para respirar, quédese en casa y notifique a su médico. Después de toser, proceda a la higiene de las manos y evite el contacto cercano con personas que tosan o estornuden. Si necesita atención médica urgente, asegúrese de llamar con anticipación para informar su estado de salud antes de visitar a su médico o a la sala de emergencias. Notifique de sus síntomas, historial de viaje o si cree que estuvo expuesto a una persona con COVID-19. Para información adicional, llame al 914. Este anuncio es dirigido a usted a través del Centro de Servicios Públicos por el Control y Prevención de Enfermedades y el Gobierno de San Martín.
St. Martin has experienced its fair share of hurricanes over the past 25 years, and we faced them all head on. We've witnessed horrific seasons with staggering loss of property, but this year might be the most destructive of all. The destructive power of hurricanes coupled with the debilitating coronavirus pandemic. Where do you run? Where can you hide? Now is the time to prepare. Think about how and where you'll evacuate to reduce crowds at shelters and maintain social distancing. Have a plan for keeping your elderly family members safe. We live in a hurricane-prone area, so start gathering essential hurricane supplies now. Things like plywood, batteries, generators. Strengthen your home as much as possible while you have time on your hands. While preparing for the hurricane season, follow the latest health guidelines at stmartingov.org/coronavirus. And remember, it only takes one to make it a bad season, so make sure you're prepared.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin. Prime Minister Talks with Honorable Prime Minister Silveria Jacobs.
Thank you for joining us. We're into the last part of Prime Minister Talks for today. This is episode 25, and I'm joined by our Minister of Finance, Minister Artwell Arian. We were having a very good discussion about the finances, what we're doing to save money. We didn't talk a lot about what you're doing to generate. You didn't mention about digitalizing the permits, but even before that, I know for sure that there are several ministries that are also doing their best to increase the income of government, and you did see some increase in compliance once the SSRP had gotten rolling. So maybe you want to touch on that briefly?
So we saw some increase in taxes and so forth because there were certain documents required to qualify for SSRP. I know that even, I believe, in the beginning, Chamber even had an increase in persons coming because you needed to submit your Chamber document.
Correct.
But what I see when I look at the data for the last 5 years is that there was just a lack of accountability within government.
Right.
I believe we left a lot of money on the road, basically, for the lack of accountability, but also maybe probably lack of systems or the know-how. And
a lot was being done by hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that goes to the next topic, I guess, when it comes to data. Data is the new currency. So data is the new gold, the new money. If you look at Facebook, Google, any big tech company, they use data. That's their main thing. So they track where you move, they track what you do. I'm pretty sure persons have said that, why does it feel like Google knows everything I'm about to say or do, right? Or you look at shoes online, and then every ad after that is about the same shoes that you watched before. For government, it's the same thing. Data is also important for us to understand where our money is. And if you look at, for example, business licenses, with the current data that I have, and there might be an error or two in the amount, but we see that there is about 34 million guilders, but in the last 5 years in uncollected either business licenses or director licenses and so forth. And even if the data is corrupted by even 50%, it would still mean $80 million out there, right? So, as I mentioned before, there's a meeting I'm having tomorrow with the Ministry of TIAT in terms of how can we work better with the receiver's office, business license, and the controllers, inspectors at TIAT to get this money and also avoid it being a problem in the future. And when it comes to data, my ideal situation would be that we have, as a V, the chamber and government are linked together.
Connected, right.
You know, persons might not want to pay taxes, but persons always want to get an insurance card, for example, right? Banks require a chamber document and so forth. So if you, for example, if you have a business and you have a bank account, there's certain times that banks require you to have an updated business license, for example. That ensures that the money comes to government. So if we have that same system at other areas, GB, SAV, and so forth, you're basically forcing persons now to pay their business license because they need a document to get a meter or get SAV and so forth. So my ideal situation, and what I'm working on going forward, is linking all these systems together so that we can be more efficient and increase accountability.
Okay, now, so I know we're going to run out of time soon, and in every press briefing, in every time the finance minister speaks, the people are we going to make it to the end of the year? You made some statements, they were taken a bit out of context. Can you please clarify for the people how we are? Yes, we are in tough times. They've heard you mention 50% less income. How are we making it to the end of the year?
I believe, based on the current data, yes, we can and should make it till the end of the year. But you know, it's month to month, right? So, like I mentioned before, September the income has dropped if you compare it to the months before. September is also traditionally our lowest month, the hurricane season.
Right.
And we pick back up in November again. And our income is also dependent on a lot of variables. So the US, the elections, the COVID-19. As you see in the Netherlands, for example, cases are increasing right now at the moment, right? So we can't even depend on the European market at the moment either. So I'm very cautious in making certain statements, and but I do believe that we will make it through.
And I think it's important that the general public gets that message because everybody knows that the Dutch are holding back the discussions for us to be able to move forward in a discussion on the third tranche. And they even made a statement that was totally off the cuff for us in that they would assess whether we still needed the funds. And I think a lot of people or the Dutch are seeing that the monies that were there post-hurricane should be able as well to tide us over. But we're seeing that even though a lot of projects are starting to come out, congratulations also with the loan program coming out of that trust fund and the first 2 small businesses getting that. So monies are rolling, construction is going on, so with that monies are rolling as well. And even new hotels that have been closed for the 3 years are scheduled to reopen. I've seen that the one down by the bridge.
Royal Palm.
Royal Palm. It's a diamond resort. They're looking for an HR manager. I've been contacted also by the management as to what they have to do, what protocols have to be in place. So St. Martin has that je ne sais quoi that business will continue. The last time our resilience depended on the businesses, but now the businesses are the ones hard hit. So we as government still have to do what we have to do. But I believe we'll make it through. And I think that hearing it from you, belief is strong. And when you have faith in something, a way is found.
Yes, but I would also like to say to our people, the people of St. Martin, not to get complacent, right?
Right.
COVID-19 has changed the way we do business forever, in my opinion. If you look at the cruise industry, with the program we have coming up, the Enterprise Support Project System, my hope is to see new types of businesses, right? Especially in the food security area. I would love to see more agricultural businesses, hydroponics, aquaponics, and so forth. Food security will be an issue going forward. And so I don't want to say, yes, St. Martin will get back on board. Yes, we will be. But it's more important to get back better, right? More advanced.
And being able to sustain the shocks.
Yes.
And food plays
future shocks.
food plays a major role in that.
Yes.
Any final words for the people of St. Martin, Minister of Finance?
People of St. Martin, I told Prime Minister Jacobs the other day that, what did I tell you again? Yes, faith is invisible but very powerful. And that's my belief, that we have to have faith but also work. So faith without work is nothing.
Right.
And we are working more hours than you may believe. And we are very concerned and aware of everyone out there. And we had the Council of Ministers from 9:30 to 8 o'clock this Tuesday gone. And we are looking out for you. And we will make it through. St. Martin will bounce back better than before. And it will be by God's grace and with our support.
You've been watching Prime Minister Talks, episode 25, with our Minister of Finance, Artwell Arian. I'm Sylveria Jacobs, and I add the sentiment that he just brought, that we together can do this. The strong, for me, we're as strong as the weakest link. We know there are many out there who are having it very, very difficult. I get messages daily, and we really, in our discussions, building community support, ensuring that all of our different helping projects are working together and that there's not too much overlap so that everyone who needs the assistance can get the assistance. Today's episode has been very important for me. 25 is a key number. It's a quarter, always, you know, and it tells us we have a lot more to go. But keeping you informed is our goal, and so I ask you to always stay tuned to stmartingov.org, www.stmartingov.org. Tune in to our Facebook pages. Also, subscribe to YouTube and follow us on our radio station 107.9. This has been Prime Minister Talks. Stay tuned on a weekly basis for updates from our cabinet.